When I was pregnant with my first baby, so 10 years ago now, when I first got pregnant, I kept on hearing all of these horrible birth stories. And then I started in prenatal yoga after my first trimester. And the teacher was also a doula and a birth educator. And I felt really good what I was doing. But then all of the moms who were giving birth before me in the class started having these really magical, positive birth experiences. And so I was excited to see how mine would go. And then I ended up having an amazing birth. I felt like I coped the whole time. I was in control. I never even thought of asking for any pain medications or an epidural. When I came home from that birth, I said to my husband, this is what I want to do. If we ever move, then this is what I want to do. So that brings me to here and kind of the whole reason that started this channel. I had already been teaching yoga at that point, but it was really then that I pivoted to really focus and get extra training for pre and postnatal, and I have never stopped educating myself on the fitness aspects as well as birth education. Today, we're going to do those exercises that are going to prepare your body for an easy and positive birth experience, as well as stretches, breathing strategies, and other coping techniques. I may look like I'm pregnant. I'm actually just wearing a belly for demonstration. I do have 3 kids now, but I will keep making pregnancy, yoga, workouts, Pilates, and birth education for a healthy pregnancy and a positive birth experience. If you have a birth ball, you can go ahead and grab the birth ball. We're going to do some bouncing at the very end. However, if you don't have a birth ball, that's okay. You can still do the entire class, and I'll get you to do hands and knees, hip circles at the end, which is also great for your baby's positioning. Let's first practice our breath that is going to protect our core from diastasis recti, but also can help us during labor. So let's put our hands on our side and back ribs. And as we inhale, we're going to keep our shoulders relaxed and breathe into our side and back ribs. And then exhale as if you're blowing out a candle. Pull your baby into your spine, hugging your baby in. Inhale. So as you do the hard part of any move, you're going to exhale, engage your core, wrapping around your baby. Perfect. All right, speaking of that hands and knees position, we can head to hands and knees now. Let's start with some easy hip circles, just taking any movement that feels good, starting to lubricate those joints. We'll go both directions. Good, let's come to a neutral spine here. And we're going to exhale, tuck your tailbone under, tilt your pelvis posterior, and then inhale, you can tilt your pelvis the other way. Exhale. Inhale. Moving with your own breath. Let's come to a neutral spine, making sure that we're not just letting our bellies hang out and we're not dumping or sinking through our lower back. We're going to exhale, lift opposite hand and leg. Keeping our hips very stable so they're not rocking back and forth. The core work is coming here from how stable your hips are. Last one. We can come up to a standing position, so getting up however you can. We're going to do 40 seconds of a move that is going to prepare your body for labor, and then 40 seconds of a stretch that's not only going to feel good in your body, but make room to get your baby into the perfect position for birth. So we're going to set up for some squats. We can spread our toes, spread our weight evenly between the 4 corners of our feet, sit back like you're sitting into a chair. If you're having any pelvic pain in your pregnancy, make sure that when you come up, you're not thrusting forward, but you can squeeze your quads at the top. Exhale, hug your baby in to your spine. Good. Let's take one foot behind. Big inhale. Exhale, inhale, breathe into the side rib, ballooning out, making space under your rib. Exhale, coming up, we'll switch to the other side. Exhale, coming up. We're gonna set it for lateral lunges. We'll lunge side to side. Good, let's pigeon toe our feet in, clasp our elbows or hands behind us, and you can take this into a forward fold. If forward fold don't feel good because your belly is big, you can always just open up through your chest and then push your arms out behind, getting a nice chest opener. So whatever feels good for you. We'll bring our arms back in and we'll come on up. We're gonna move into sumo squats here. So we're gonna squat down. As we come up, squeeze your inner thighs together. Working your adductor muscles is important for your birth, as if you're dragging your feet together. You can take our hands down to our knees, stretch through our groin, opening up through our hips. You can drop one shoulder in. If you want to bring your feet a little bit wider, we can, and then shift our weight back and forth. Good, stretch, release. Let's come up and step together. We're gonna move into warrior two legs, and then now lunging to the side. Hips are facing the front, knee trying to move towards the back of the room. So tracking over your toes. And now we'll hold here, shoulders relaxed down your back. You can place your back hand on your belly and tip back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, coming up. We can switch our feet around to the other side. Take a breath here while we set up. Getting ready for lunges on this side. Lunge. Holding here. Taking your back hand to your baby, reaching up and over. Pressing into your front foot, straightening your leg. We're going to set up for a lunge position. So making sure that we have a 90-degree angle with both knees when we come into this lunge. Lunging down and up. Pausing at the bottom, coming up with power. Keeping your baby hugged tight in. We can release that heel towards the ground. Let's get a nice stretch through our psoas here. Take the same arm as leg that is back, reach it up and over. Also tucking your pelvis under to get a deeper stretch. Exhale, pulling your baby in, coming up. Let's switch to the other side. Lunge. Slight pause at the bottom. Squeeze your legs as you come up. Straighten your back leg, release your heel, tuck your pelvis, and reach up and over. Beautiful. Exhale, pulling your baby in, come up. We're gonna set up to do yogi squats here. So feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. And then we're gonna come all the way down. If that doesn't feel good for you, you don't have to come all the way down. If your heels pop off too, that's okay as well. Let's come down, stay down here, pressing your elbows into your knees. If you wanted to sit on a couple of blocks, if that's more comfortable, you can as well. Chest is high. Let's slowly release out. You can bring your hands forward, or you can stand up if it's more comfortable to get up standing up. Let's grab a sip of water. We're going to carefully get down on our side now. You can lower yourself down here. If you wanted to put a wedge or a blanket under here to make sure that your hips can stay stacked, you can do that. We can lengthen out our top leg here, and we're going to lift, keeping your baby pulled in. Good, find a midway point, and then we're going to do some tiny circles. Keeping your hip very stable is also going to be more of that inner core work. Let's go both ways. Good, let's take that top foot now and we can cross it over, or alternatively you can just put your knee down on the ground. We're going to work our adductors or our inner thigh muscles. And we're going to lift, pulsing here. Our adductors are a really important part of our pelvic floor that is often forgot about, but we want to strengthen it to find balance throughout our pelvis. Let's lift and hold. Good, releasing down. Let's bring our knees together, again stacking our hips, and we're going to do a clamshell, but then from here we're going to work on our internal rotation. So knee down and ankle up, and then we can go back to our clamshell position, moving back and forth. So side lying is a great position to labor in, because it's going to let your tailbone move out of the way to let baby out. And when your baby is crowning or you're pushing, you can also use internal rotation, which is going to reduce your risk of tearing. So you could have a peanut ball and then be practicing your internal rotation when you're actually pushing. We'll do a couple more of these, and then we're going to switch over to the other side. Good, release, give your side a little rub there, and you can either roll over. I'm gonna switch over this way so you can keep it. So setting up again, stacking your hips, pulling your baby in, and we'll lift here. Good, find a midway point, tiny circles. Hip is very steady. Switching directions. Good, releasing it down. Let's move into our inner thigh or adductor work. Finding your positioning, and then lifting up and down. Beautiful, let's hold it up, pulse. hold it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release down. Good. Let's bring our knees together. Open up to clamshell and then inner rotation, clamshell. Really getting your ankle up. Beautiful. Release. Give your hip a bit of a rub. Coming back to a kneeling position, use your arm. Exhale, pull in your baby to push yourself back up and come to our knees. We're going to come to a kneeling lunge, which is a great asymmetrical pose to get your baby into the right position. Place one leg out in front, shift the weight forward, and then we're going to tuck the pelvis. This is also great to do in labor. So depending on how our legs are and if they're externally or internally rotated, different parts of the pelvis are going to open. So if we are externally rotated, the top of our pelvis is going to open. If we're internally rotated, the bottom is going to open. And then if we have one leg forward, it's going to asymmetrically move it, which can help baby wiggle and find their way down. You can also turn your front leg out and then do rocking positions here. If it doesn't feel good kneeling, you can also do the standing and just put your leg on a couch or a chair to get a similar benefit. Let's press into our front foot. Come back, we can switch to the other side. Again, if you wanted to, turning out your front leg and rocking a little bit. Good, let's press into your front foot, come back. We can make our way to all fours. Exhale, pulling your baby in, tuck your toes, and moving into a downward dog. If your wrists are uncomfortable here, you can also be on your forearms for more of a dolphin pose. Let's take any movement that feels good here. Coming back to all fours. We can come to a butterfly position here. So bringing your feet together, almost opening your feet up like a book, letting your knees fall out. Again, this is opening the top of the pelvis. So when your baby is ready, your baby will be able to descend down. You can sit up tall. And if it feels good, you can hinge and slightly fold forward. Relaxing through your pelvic floor. Breathing into your side and back ribs. Good. Coming up, we can bring our legs out. Sometimes it feels good to sit on a pillow here, so you can also prop yourself up a little bit. Knees and toes are pointed up. Let's go back and forth. Good, exhale, come on up. So if you don't have a ball, you can make your way to hands and knees, or you can come to a standing position to do some free hip circles. If you have a ball, you can go grab it now, and we will sit on the ball. Let's start with some hip circles. This should feel really good. Going both ways. Good, we can move into some pelvic tilt. So we're gonna tilt back and forward. Exhale as you move into your anterior tilt. Good, and side to side. Good. So I will let you bounce on the ball, or if you're on hands and knees, you can do hip circles, but it's just good to spend time on your hands and knees to help baby get into that good position. I wanted to chat a little bit about pushing and breathing. So the old way of pushing used to be purple pushing, closed glottis pushing, where you would take a big breath in and then hold your breath and use the pressure of your diaphragm to help push the baby out. But it showed that this increases risk of perineal tears and tearing. So ideally, we want to exhale and breathe out our baby. So your uterus is going to push out your baby. You don't need a strong pelvic floor. Your uterus is going to do all the work, and we just need to support your body in doing that. So ideally you are on hands and knees or in a sideline position where your tailbone can move out of the way to push baby out. And especially when you're pushing, you can also move into that internal rotation position. But if you think about elastic, and so I've got an elastic here, and you're going to do a big push, which is going to stretch it. This elastic is more likely to snap or tear if we're talking about labor. But if you are slowly stretching it, even if the elastic stretches to the same level, it's much less likely to snap, or you're much less likely to get a tear. So we want to birth our baby slowly. So we might feel the ring of fire feeling when your baby is crowning, and that's going to change your breathing from deeper breaths to naturally feeling a little bit like a smaller breaths. And this is going to slow it down. So I was really surprised, but your baby won't necessarily come out all in one push. Part of the head might come out, and then you're going to have to hang out and wait. It might go back in again. And then the next contraction, it will come a little bit further, and then you might have to wait again. But this slow method is really going to protect that perineum tissue. When you feel your body pushing, you can support that with your breath by practicing a J breath, or a breath that really pushes the energy down rather than letting it go out here. If you're screaming or making a lot of noise, your energy is out here, and you want to be breathing and pushing your energy down here. Using low toned vowel sounds like ah or he can also help, and it may not be that smooth. It may sound a little bit more guttural. You may be as you're pushing, but as long as you're letting out some air, it's helping to protect your perineum. The next strategy that I didn't know about for my first birth that I wish that I did, and I practice with my next 2 births, is laboring down. So sometimes when you get to 10 centimeters, your birth team will tell you that it's time to push. And with my first, I did have a positive birth experience, but I was so exhausted because I was pushing before my body was really ready. And so laboring down is when you wait until you actually feel the urge to push. So again, you may feel this as a pressure on your perineum, like almost like if you have to go to the bathroom, or I actually heard myself grunting, and then I was like, oh yes, my body is starting to push, and my job is just to support my body. With these exercises and stretches preparing your body, I believe that you can have a positive birth experience. And if you're interested to know exactly what my labor routine was for my first birth, I'm going to link to that video explaining it there. Thank you so much for joining me today. You did amazing. For more videos on having the healthiest pregnancy and a positive birth experience, subscribe and hit the notification bell.